And hello, beautiful people. How are you doing? My name is Lisa Koyen, and I'm the host of The Coaches Next Door. And I want to say thank you once more for being with me and to listen, let's say, what I am here to bring to you. And today, the topic of today is your ego is not the problem. And I decided to bring this topic because the amount of times that I hear you need to let go of your ego, that's just your ego talking, or kill your ego to find peace, I go like, why? Why and when the ego became, such an enemy for ourselves? And well, you know that the problem is not the ego, right? The problem is how disconnected we are from, first of all, understanding what the ego is, and to integrate it in a healthy way. Most part of the times, I think that when people are saying, oh, this is your ego talking, what they are literally saying is you are just, taking in account your perspective of the world. And um, why that is bad? Most probably is not bad, but most probably is being communicated in a way that doesn't allow other people to, share that point of view and share from where they are coming from, right? So, sorry, I have a phone call from my daughter and I need to take it. Just a second. Hello? Hi, and I'm back. Sorry. You know that when you are, doing parenting alone, if the school calls, you need to take it because they cannot call anyone else. So I'm so sorry. Everything is okay, and was just a message, something that is going to happen along the way in the day. So what I was saying, and again, I'm going to maybe start this all over again. The Coaches Next Door episode today is about the ego and why the ego is not really the big problem, is not the real issue. But most part of the times, what happens is that the way we are communicating is the one that is, of course, bringing people to a place that they can say things like, oh, that is your ego talking. So I want to start by the idea of that the neuroscience gives to us, okay? And the neuroscience reflects a lot about the ego. And what normally they say is that the ego is very connected with, this default way of acting. So it's our most internal narrative and our sense of self. And our sense of self, like the awareness that I'm different from, this plant, and I'm different from another person. I'm different even, from the circumstances. And this is very important. And in the moment that you stop and you lose the ability of defining yourself, yeah, you can be in real trouble. You cannot connect anymore with the I. And you can also not distinguish what is mine and what is yours, and what is my emotion and what is your emotion. So, in that way, if we want to be in a healthy relationship and even strong leadership or feeling good with ourselves, we need that sense of self. We need the ego. We need the ego integration. I'm going to give you a very clear example. Um, and I know two particular cases, probably many more. One person was, she has even a book. I'm trying to remember her name. I cannot right now. But she has a book and she had a TEDx talk about it. She's a biologist and she had a stroke, okay? And she lost this sense of this is me and this is my wall. And she has a beautiful, in the TEDx talk, she has a beautiful description about that. I think is the benefit of being, herself a scientist and knowing what is happening to her. So she went in this mode of, oh, okay, this is what happened. So she's able to describe it in a magnificent way. But this also happened with my husband when he was with a tumor. Suddenly he could not distinguish anymore what was my emotion and his emotion. And even sometimes when I was talking and, for instance, telling a story and saying, oh, you know what, someone said this, and I was saying what that person said, he will look at me and say, but was me that said that? And I said, no, 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 the other person. And it's like, oh. And for him, I could see that he was getting it as, oh, maybe this was me. So the ego is necessary. So please don't let go of your ego. Don't kill it. Don't let it go. Stay with your ego. Maybe what we want to understand is where we are and how can we integrate our ego for healthy relationships. Okay? So we have, and one of the topics that I love to show is the transaction analysis. Because, and I say this too many times, I believe, that it's very difficult. One of the most difficult things these days is to have an adult conversation, around. And this is connected with where is the status of the ego, okay? And what we know is that because we learn this relationship between me, myself, I, with others in a primary relationship that was with our families and parenting, not always with parents, but with the attitude of parenting, we tend, if we don't do a lot of, self-awareness, self-discussion, challenging our perspectives of the world, we tend, most part of the times, to look for that same relationship, the relationship parent-child. And doesn't mean that you are always the child. You sometimes go to the parent, but the dynamic is still the same. And when someone is saying to us, that is only, for instance, if you heard the expression, someone saying, oh, this is your ego talking, you can probably detect that you are or being a parent for that person behaving as a parent, so imposing rules, moral guidance, and often very unconscious of us. So a parent is someone that is always in reflection, in position, in relationship to another person. So most part of the times when again when someone says to you, this is your ego speaking, you can probably say, oh, I'm over this person, or from the other side, I'm behaving as a child, like very reactive and pleaser seeking. So I'm always looking for some type of pleasure, but also expressing myself in a very exaggerated way. Okay, so I need to exaggerate myself because I want to be seen. And that is a very child need. Okay, I want to be seen, I want to be respected, I want to be admired or recognized. Okay, and when you put that in a very inflamed way, that is the ego of a child that is still looking for this pleasure. So the adult, the ego that gets to this adult is very aware and is very grounded and very present. So it's not corresponding to needs, okay? Is in the decisive mode. And what we tend to say is that the maturity of the ego is what we are looking for. Okay, is that we can come across as, okay, this is me, I'm aware of myself, I'm aware of the other person or even the environment, and I'm present here and I decided to be here, so that's very important. And that is only an ego that, let's call it an adult ego, can do. And this doesn't is nothing connected with age, unfortunately. Huh? Um, I know a lot of young people that have a very mature ego, but I also know a lot of adults with a very, very childish ego, okay, that are always looking for displeasure, are always looking to be seen, are always requesting that. So we are in relationships, we are always shifting between these three ego roles. And sometimes, for instance, with our partners, we tend to go to the child, right? We Because it's the place that we are going to look for that safety, but also pleasure, right? I want to feel pleasant with this person. I want to, and I want also to please sometimes. And it's nothing wrong with that, but we need to be aware. The adult ego needs to be always a little bit on, overlooking to say, oh, okay, when can I go for this? Or when I just need to become an adult ego again. So, the adult ego is also someone that reflects instead of reacting. So the adult ego is the one that can, get some input or can see something and is not like, oh, we need to do something. No, he reflects about what is happening and how the ego wants to, be present in that situation. Another thing is that the adult ego is the one that is able to set boundaries without shutting down. And this is also very important, right? So you are able to set boundaries without, I see this a lot. I'm going to give a practical example. I see some people wanting to set the boundary and then saying sorry. Like, oh, I'm so sorry that I needed to say this. Why are you saying sorry? Huh? So an adult will set the boundaries and will not shut down. So this is very common, and I see this many times. Another thing is the adult ego is going to connect with someone else without the necessity of performing, okay, without the idea that, oh, I always need to be, performing to be accepted and to connect. So the adult ego will connect without performance as it is, okay, because he's so aware of himself and in a so healthy internal narrative that it can go around also as that, doesn't need to add or take out anything. And one of the most incredible things is that also the mature ego or the adult ego will lead without overpowering. So you will not need, the ego will not need the parent attitude to make someone follow them, okay? And that's how you detect a very healthy ego, a very healthy high I. So I'm able to reflect, I'm able to set boundaries without shutting down myself. I'm able to connect without, what should I be doing? This is good, this is bad, without performing. And also, the leadership is natural. It doesn't need to come with power or even overpowering, because of course leading has already some type of power. I don't know if this makes sense. I hope this makes sense. It's a topic that I really love, and gives so much awareness. And most part of the times when I present this in groups, people go like, oh my God, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it in my life. I'm seeing it in my job. I'm seeing it, even sometimes with the kids, with their own kids, how sometimes kids can become the parent in the house, okay, setting the rules. And we see also, unfortunately, that a lot. So that's when we know that the ego is not in a healthy place, and that is what we tend to want to break, right? We want to have even a conversation with someone that is in a healthy ego, that doesn't come to us, for instance, overpowering, and we're like, okay, why are you doing that right now? But the problem is not the ego per se, right? The problem is not, again, I'm going to repeat this, the ego is necessary. Uh, so please, like I said in the beginning, don't kill it, don't keep it, because focus much more on making the ego healthy than wanting to break down the ego. So, and one of the times is that I I I also see this in very random. I told you the story of my husband, but yeah, that was of course a very big thing, and also the story of the stroke that scientists had. But there are extreme situations. But we also can see small things that our ego wants to, come in a very unhealthy way, in a very the example that I'm thinking about is, I will say, yeah, very childish ego. So I remember one time my one of my daughters um, was doing something, and then she did she did something, didn't work, and I was doing with her, and I gave some opinion about how she could be doing it, and she didn't basically follow. So whatever she was doing was like a craft for school, and yeah, didn't work out, didn't work at all as she was imagining. And then um, I really needed to hold myself, because my first thing was to say, you know what, I told you so. I told you that this will not work. And that urgency of, showing who is right here is ego, but it's an unhealthy ego. right? Is this child saying, you know what? Yeah, I know it better. So that's, yeah, that's not how I want to be, at least. And doesn't mean that sometimes I don't go there. I'm not perfect, okay? But if every time that I catch myself, I go like, oh, or if I already said it, I say sorry. But I I I would like to hold it, um, and because the job, is not to put her down, right? My job is not to say, you know what, you don't know anything about this, and with that, gaining power over it. So that's not what I want. So what I want is just maybe, yeah, that maybe to give my opinion and saying, hey, can we try this or can we try that? And that's and create the momentum that she's more open to do so, right? So if I come with overpowering, yeah, what is the most probably reply from her is that she's going to react as well. Because if I come with a parent, I'm going to trigger, the ego child. So if I come like, yeah, I know it better, she goes like, no, you don't. And we are not getting anywhere, right? So I can only create this moment that she's more open to receive my opinion when I, come across as an adult and I'm just sharing it. I like, hey, I think this could work, or do you want me to try this and let's see if it works. Many ways and possible ways of saying this, but the thing is that if I continue with this reaction and if I continue and act upon the ego of a child or even a parent, I will not get her anyway close to a momentum that she can accept my perspective and how to do that. um, so this is interesting because if you take this to your daily office life, you're going to see this so much. Sometimes in a more polite way, but still is, I told you so. So that you can see that is someone wanting, to connect with their ego, but in a not so healthy way. And sometimes that person is us. Okay, sometimes it's us. We like, okay, I'm too reactive or I reacted too fast. So then it's time to say sorry, right? So let me take you to a moment of self-reflection, because I think it's also important that you go out of this minutes with a little bit more awareness. Okay, where do I want to have my ego, and where is my ego right now? What is the ego that is operating here right now? So when you are under pressure, okay, what is your ego state by default? Let me give you some examples. If you start, complaining, if you start screaming or, going all over the place and getting highly anxious or stressed, if you start looking for what is the rule and what can be done, and okay, or if you just pause and observe where the pressure is coming from and how can you deal with that. So you see, some of them are childish. So if you start complaining and saying, why me? Why always me? Why things always happen to me? This is childish ego. Then we have the one that is like, oh my God, what are the rules? What can I do? What can I, what should be done? That is the parent ego. And the one that is like, okay, let me pause. Let's even write it down and see, okay, what is happening and where this pressure is coming from and what can I do about it? What is the part that I can influence? This is the adult ego. Okay. Another question. Mm. Are you reacting from fear, control, or confusion? What takes you to react? What makes you react faster? And another question is, or are you leading with clarity, presence, and maturity? So, for instance, in business, I see this a lot, the fear, control, or confusion. Um, so people sometimes are like, okay, but why are you doing that? Yeah, because I don't know what to do more. This is confusion. Okay. Sometimes people say, yeah, because if I don't do this, this will happen. Da, da, da. This is fear. Okay. And when someone is saying, yeah, but let's plan, let's do this, so that's the need of the or the desire of control. So it's very important to know where are we coming from as a default, you know, what triggers the most, because again, it's not about the ego, it's about what status is the ego, uh, what is the status that you are operating. So when you are doing this, it's important to realize that we don't want to erase anything. We just want to create more options and integrate each one of these parts and saying, okay, where can I use each one of these parts? And sometimes it's okay to be in the child ego. Sometimes it's necessary to be in the parent ego. Okay, but we must look for the that most part of the moments, at least in the internal narrative, we are in the adult ego. We are aware of ourselves, we are aware of the world, and we take the decision upon that. Okay, what we want, what this I wants to bring to the world. Um, so that will be the ideal. Okay, and just as some final thoughts is some very simple questions. Am I reacting or responding? Oh, this one is beautiful, right? I'm reacting or responding. Look for a response. I'm defending or expressing. Look for expression. Huh? And I am present in my adult self, or I'm just playing a role. This one eats deep, because sometimes, and I see this a lot as well. I see all of this a lot, of course, that's why I'm talking about it. But sometimes people come even as partners, as moms and dads. Like, oh, this is the dad that I should be, or this is the partner that I want to be, and should be this and should be that. It's like, what are you doing? What is that all about? So as an healthy ego, you should not be feeling the need of performing. Okay, so I will I will advise, if that is possible, that you go to these questions and write them down and keep them close to you, because I think realizing that the ego is necessary is a plus. Realizing that yes, we can, of course, come across as a more mature and adult ego, and that will be beautiful. Is nothing more amazing than two, healthy egos meeting. Um, but also, I think your life will get much simple and less, reactive. Not only yourself, but your life. So you get a little bit more in the position of deciding, and that makes also you probably feel that you are living your own life and not, the life that you should be living. So that's why the ego is very important as well, to make you aware of your own presence and your own uh, value in this world is very important and very necessary. So let's stop this idea of killing the ego and letting go of the ego. And let's stay in our presence, but in a healthy way. Thank you so much for being with me. I hope this supports you in any way. And if you find someone, a lot in the parent or child ego, share the episode with them. You know, who knows? Take care of yourself and have a great, great weekend.